Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Bibbs, Meredith, Alonso. We were behind, but we have an arc.
We do.
Who knew?
Yay.
I thought I was going to maybe get to skip one, but no, it's a fucking arc on Doctor Who. I don't think I've ever had one of these in my time.
They often have a bit of a seasonal element to it, and they'll do a lot of two-parters, but this is like the first three-parter I've seen in a long time.
You guys are building up a really cool, creepy new bad guy. Oh, that's where you're going with this. Okay, all right, I see. That was a letdown for me anyway.
I've actually seen this whole season before, like this whole arc with the monks or whatever. Like, oh no, we have to like the Doctor's propaganda and build up and rewire everyone's brains. I'm like, we had like 2 season finales.
I was so on board with this season. I was like, this is one of the best seasons since Eccleston and David Tennant's first season. And then I'm like, this episode, yep. This is why I kind of haven't been digging Doctor Who for the last couple of seasons.
Which one specifically?
The last one, the lie at the end of the world.
Yeah, the lie of the lamb.
Or the lie of the land. I just combined all the episodes.
Sure.
It was just this last particular episode that aired this weekend that I didn't feel at all. I mean, even the Missy stuff, and I was so excited to have Missy back, and I'm like, really?
She's just doing Hannibal Lecter. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all we're doing.
I'm like,
I hadn't thought about that, but totally. Yeah. What bugged me was the big thing of how we're going to beat these aliens. Like, so basically, anybody who has memories that predated the monks could have made this happen. Right. It's not like Bill had some special thing.
You couldn't sacrifice her. You couldn't do anything. There's nothing. They kept playing in that episode with making real sacrifices. Potentially, this is where the Doctor transforms. Potentially, the Doctor has changed. Potentially, Bill will have to die. Something will have to have consequence. And they managed to unmake everything. The Doctor gets his sight back, like everything.
I would have loved to have actually seen Bill and Nordal be the ones who actually saved this and actually had to save the Doctor. It would have been nice. It would have been really nice just to, because I'm really digging Bill. I really think she's a strong companion who is growing into her own and growing into the fact that, like, wait, I can do these things. And Nordal's just hilarious. I just love him. Well, but nope, it's got to be the Doctor. Doctor saves the day. Doctor does everything right.
I do want to backtrack though, and because I want to talk about Extremists as an individual episode, because
not Iron Man.
Yes, they're not Iron Man Extremists, but I feel as though this episode could have felt like such a huge cop-out, and instead, this is actually one of the most satisfying individual episodes Doctor Who have seen in a while. It's so the element of sort of existential horror that comes out of this episode when you realize your entire life is a simulation and people are killing themselves as an element of heroism is handled in such a nice way. It's handled in such a creepy, spooky way, and then managing to take what could have been a shitty standalone dream episode and then finding a way to have it make actual consequence to the series and you're really glad it's important that you watched this. This wasn't filler.
There is a neat little Pirandellian underpinning of like, oh wow, okay, so this actually isn't happening in the show as we know it. So it's like this one remove of these, like we know we're watching a show about fictional characters, but now this is an episode about fictional versions of those fictional characters. You're right, that was
and then
that's hard to pull off.
Yeah, and then to have the blindness come over into the real world was just such a stunning, but then they ruined it. They rewrote it all in this in the last episode.
I did like the idea that that Bill would pick up a woman who was feeling a little guilty about hooking up and then have the Pope emerge in her bedroom.
That's fucking funny.
So
that was
and then they bring it back and just have it be the army.
Yeah, and the UN Secretary General.
Bye.
That's hilarious.
I will say this, for this arc, and this is the thing that they've touched upon several times on this show, just in the brief time that I've watched it, this notion of the folly of humanity and that we are constantly repeating our history because we never learn anything. I thought it touched upon the problems that we create for ourselves and the mistakes that we make in a way that was a lot more subtle than, say, the American Gods episode we just talked about, Murder of Gods, where it was so kind of, I thought, very heavy-handed in talking about the political issues that it touched upon. Here, you could certainly extrapolate the world that we live in today. I mean, they mentioned fascism and fundamentalism,
well,
but
Bill makes a point like, I wouldn't have voted for him. He's orange when they talk about the president.
Well, and the Doctor has actually one of the Doctor's better speeches recently, which is history is screaming at you, saying this is fascism, this is bad, this has horrible negative consequences, and we keep doing it anyway. And when you have a show that deals in time travel, especially one that's been going on for over 50 years, you have to highlight the fact that seriously we should have known better by now.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's delivering that stuff with a lighter touch.
Yes, and I think a very palatable one. And I think Extremists is a great episode. I think The Pyramid at the End of the World isn't maybe one of the the best episodes ever, but it's fun. It has twists. I like the way that it was handled. It was a nice way to do a disaster story as sort of like a everything, like World War III is a red herring, and what we actually should have been worried about was something we had no idea. It's like the whole world avoided disaster, and now death from Final Destination is coming after all of us. There's something kind of fun about it.
And for the lie of the land, I always do like, and I still need to watch Man in the High Castle. I know it's one of the 10,000 shows I need to be watching right now, but I'm doing this and I don't have time.
Damn you, Silver Age of television.
I read the Wikipedia on it.
Totally, but anyway, I do like those sort of glimpses at a dystopian, you know, like present. And so the notion of like this sort of weird alien propaganda narrated by the Doctor, I thought those segments were interesting.
And I still wish we got to know a little bit more about what the monks ultimately wanted. Like, yes, they want to control, and we know that they have to have consent. They have to be given consent to control the people. But like, are they going to come back? Is this really the big bad, or is just, like you said, a red herring to a larger story?
Well, Missy has a thing about how, look, if they're defeated, they chalk it up to experience, then they move on. But I'm just like, if the whole point of humanity is that we're going to forget immediately, then we've gained no experience, and they can just literally just do it again, and it won't matter. And that is something that's sort of frustrating, and it is something that, again, it's been on 50 years. It's going to repeat some things, but after a while, you're like,
that is the thing this show does a lot, where they want to have these giant worldscape plots and dilemmas, and at the same time revert to zero every time.
But they've done that so well though in the past, like when they brought back the Master. You know, with that was one of the. Maybe because they did that so well, trying to do anything on top of that.
I mean, like you said, they've incorporated the idea of like him being the president of the earth in times of calamity and stuff. Like there are certain select people that are allowed to know things, but if you're you know, like one of the cool things about Watchmen, the comic book, was the notion that a world with superheroes in it is a different world than the one we live in. You know, and so a world with Doctor Who in it would be with the Doctor in it is a different world than the one that we live in. But the show wants to have both of those things. And so if something gigantic that affects every man, woman, and child on the planet has to then be undone at the end of the hour, so that the next episode we never talk about it again, then they have to paint themselves into these corners.
It's weird because sometimes they remember and sometimes they don't. I remember in like I think with the last David Tennant Christmas episode, or one of the last ones, they go down to Earth, and it was the Starship Titanic one, and they go down to Earth, and David Tennant's like, you can't bring all these aliens down to Earth. The streets will be full of people on Christmas, and no one's in. And everyone's like, what happened? It was just like, well, the last 3 Christmases aliens attacked, so we're all staying in this year. Like, so they have played with it before, but it's weird and it's inconsistent.
Did the moon hatch on this show?
That was in the future though.
Oh, okay.
But you know what? Maybe we're just putting way too much thought into a sci-fi show that has never taken itself too seriously to begin with.
That is true.
So, but that's why we review the show, because we like to put our own ideas into it.
The thing is, they still do that thing. I mean, like we're not wishing the show were something else. We're talking about what they actually do, and what they actually do is they want to have these giant ramifications and then undo them all, you know, so that we can start from scratch.
So we get a new doctor, and then they'll do that again because we're going to end up getting a new doctor
at some point in the near future. Yeah. So that's what when I wonder if when Peter Capaldi talked about maybe regenerating before the end of the season, he was trying to fake us out and make us think that this scene was going to have him actually die. Because when you think about it, okay, we need to make sure Bill isn't a secret agent, so we're going to test her, and I'm going to really sell the lie. I'm going to let her try to kill me, and then I'm actually going to fuck it. I'm just going to go real. I'm going to make it look like I'm regenerating. Why? Because I'm an asshole. You didn't need to go that far. That's totally unnecessary.
That's what we know about this doctor. Peter Capaldi's doctor is an asshole who has very few connections to human emotion, and that's been the overarching thing.
Does this count as a regeneration? Like
no, it was he used sparklers.
He was playing around. No, they did do that once before when David Tennant died, and then used some leftover bits of his DNA to regenerate, and then it turned out that did count. He was shot with blanks. He didn't die at all.
Oh right.
Yeah, he just used his doctor magic that he apparently has.
Sometimes he can do that. Sometimes he can just, and I'm going to erase your memories. By the way, he can do that now.
All right, well, we'll be back next time, and none of this will have ever happened.